Understand it with the help of example. So there's a girl called Meera. Now this girl Meera, she's extremely excited to research on how stress impacts examination in the life of college students in India. Now if she wants to research on this topic, she needs to talk to each and every student of India who is in the college. Is it practically possible? I don't think so. So this girl Meera has to choose a few students on which she is going to research, and then on the basis of the research she is going to develop a finding. She is going to draw a conclusion, and this conclusion can be generalized on all the college students of India. Now entire college students of India, they are known as population in research methodology. But since we cannot research on the population, we take help of a sample. What is sample? Sample is a group of people chosen from the population on which the research is conducted, and the results produced by the sample is generalized on the population. So this is known as sampling. Now there are various ways in which Meera can choose the sample. And now in the next section of this video, I'm going to talk about different types of sampling. So when it comes to sampling, there are basically two kinds of sampling. One is probability sampling and one is non-probability sampling. What is probability sampling? Let's first understand it. Probability sampling is when the researcher chooses sample randomly from the population. So in 10th standard, you must remember that there was a chapter called probability. In probability chapter, there was randomization. There were a lot of questions asked on if a dice is thrown randomly, what is the probability that one is going to appear? So 1 by 6 is the probability. So probability is very much connected to randomization, randomly. Okay, so probability sampling deals with choosing sample randomly from the population. Now there are different types of probability sampling. We are going to look at them one by one. The first kind of probability sampling is simple random sampling. Now what is simple random sampling? The most easiest type of sampling. अगर मुझे जयपुर के सारे स्कूल्स की रिसर्च करनी है और देखना है कि 10th स्टैंडर्ड के स्टूडेंट्स जो हैं उनका स्ट्रेस लेवल कितना है. नाउ बीइंग फ्रॉम जयपुर आई नो दैट देयर आर इन टोटल 55 schools. Now it's not possible for me to go to each school and then collect the data from all the 55 schools. So what I do is that I decide to go by simple random sampling. इन सारे schools के जो students हैं उनकी list मैं लेके आती हूँ, and then from that list randomly I select a few students on which I'll be conducting my research. That is simple random sampling. If you take an example from your life, then lucky draw हम करते हैं. That is a perfect example of simple random sampling. आपने chits डाल दी and randomly आपने कुछ लोगों को choose कर लिया. The second type of probability sampling is systematic random sampling. Now what is this? In this, I'm going to make a list of all the 10th class students from all the 55 schools, and then I'm going to choose every nth person, every nth student. For example, I choose every 10th student. I made a list of all the students. I listed all the students alphabetically. Suppose there are 8,000 students in Jaipur who are in 10th standard. Now from that 8,000 students, I choose every 10th student, 10th, 20th, 30th, 40th, ऐसे करके मैंने कुछ स्टूडेंट्स को सेलेक्ट कर लिया. ओके, सो मैंने एक अल्फाबेटिकल लिस्ट बनाई और उनमें उस लिस्ट में एवरी nth टर्म आई सेलेक्टेड, 10th, then 20th student, 30th student, 40th student. So this is what is known as systematic random sampling. The next kind of probability sampling is stratified random sampling. What is stratified random sampling? In this, I'm going to divide these 8,000 students in homogeneous groups. So I'm going to make, suppose, 80 groups out of these 8,000 students, and from each group I'm randomly going to select a few students, and on those students I'm going to conduct my research. This is stratified random sampling. Then next we have cluster sampling. Cluster sampling means you choose a naturally existing cluster and then you do your research. So rather than choosing students from 55 schools, I randomly chose 5 schools and I started doing research on these 5 schools, and then I'm going to generalize it on all the schools of Jaipur. And fifth is multi-stage random sampling. Multi-stage sampling is when I randomly choose clusters and from those clusters I randomly choose students. So मैंने 4 schools लिए randomly and in schools के अंदर से भी मैंने randomly students pick करे. This is multi-stage. It is involving 2 stages. First I'm doing cluster and then cluster के अंदर I'm again doing sampling. I'm choosing a few students from that school also. That is why it is known as multi-stage sampling. So now we move on to the second type of sampling, which is non-probability sampling. Till now we've discussed different types of probability sampling. Now it's time to look at what is non-probability sampling and looking at different types of non-probability sampling. So non-probability sampling, from the word itself you can understand, it is when you choose a sample deliberately and not randomly. आप randomly choose नहीं कर रहे हो, आप अपनी नॉलेज एंड एक्सपीरियंस के बेसिस पे डेलिबरेटली आप कई लोगों को अपनी रिसर्च में ले रहे हो. दैट इज नॉन प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग. देयर आर 3 मेन टाइप्स ऑफ नॉन प्रोबेबिलिटी सैम्पलिंग. फर्स्ट इज कोटा सैम्पलिंग. नाउ कोटा वी ऑल नो, इन civics we must have heard this term. Quota is a percentage which is reserved for a particular section of society. For example, 51% female quota. That means 51% seats are reserved for females. So demographically जो quotas है उस हिसाब से आप जब sampling के groups को ले रहे हो, that is called quota sampling. For example, if 51% females are there in India, then you are going to take 51 females in your research. So आप उतना ही रेशियो लोगे फीमेल्स का जितनी फीमेल्स है. So rather than randomly choosing males and females for a research, you are deliberately choosing 51 females and 49 males. This is quota sampling. The next is judgmental sampling. What is judgmental sampling? It's evident from the term itself. When you are becoming judgmental, when you are using your knowledge, your past experience to select the sample, that is judgmental sampling. So अगर मुझे लगता है कि मेरे रिसर्च में कई लोग एप्ट हैं उस रिसर्च के लिए, उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए, आई एम डेलिबरेटली गोइंग टू चूज देम. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई एम रिसर्चिंग ऑन the effect anger has on my health, I'm deliberately going to choose certain people I know who become angry in their day-to-day life very easily. So this is judgmental sampling. And the third type of non-probability sampling is convenience sampling. Convenience, that means I choose sample which is readily available. जो मुझे conveniently available है मैं उन लोगों पे research कर लेती हूँ, rather than going out and choosing people from different places, from different backgrounds. So conveniently जो लोग मुझे मिल रहे हैं, I can choose them and I can do my research. This is convenience sampling. Okay, so these are the 3 main types of non-probability sampling that you must remember if you are preparing for UGC NET paper 1. Before